I've managed to stay under the radar for a bit, but Top had me transferred to this hole in the fucking dirt forward observing base. The food isn't as nice. Facilities for females are sketchy to the point of being non-existent, but he hasn't yanked my rank, so again, I can't complain. I'm not here by myself, at least. One of the usual smoke break crew is out here with me, Gerard's friend, the new guy who didn't say anything after we all found out about Parvis. He was a little standoffish at first, but it turns out he's a decent guy. This is also his second deployment as well. I'm glad I'm not stuck out here with a bunch of noobs fresh out of AIT. The few young soldiers who came out here with us seem to be adjusting well for the most part. Sure, things get scary when indirect fire comes in, but they've been pretty lucky here that there hasn't been a whole lot of serious action at Warhorse. It may be dull, but it may be just the reprieve I need to figure all this out. It took me a fair bit, but I finally worked up the nerve to dig out that flash drive I found. It's still sticky on the surface, still smells bad too. My computer is an old piece of shit compact laptop, so if a virus fried it, I wouldn't have been too bummed out about having to replace it like I've been meaning to do anyway. Every time I read the lettering on this thing, I swear, I feel like it knows I'm holding it. Fuck it, time to get this over with. What's the worst thing that could possibly happen? Is some creepy Japanese bitch gonna crawl out of my screen and attack me? So I plugged it into my computer, and it read the drive just fine. I ran a quick virus scan on it just to be sure. Didn't find anything. So far so good. No blue screens or tentacles popping out. Just 3 folders. 2 with people's names, probably personnel files. And a folder just marked with the Roman numeral 6. A big, bold VI. The name on the first folder was Giles. It belonged to a warrant officer, an ordinary-looking dude from somewhere on the coast of Massachusetts. Impressive record, for the most part. Time in Iraq and Afghanistan. Did some consulting in Kuwait not long after 9/11. Had a master's degree and a super ridiculously high security clearance. Should I even be reading this or talking about this guy? Damn, better not show this to CID. The name on the second folder was Laveau. Another female soldier, a rank of specialist. Her record said that she was from the outlying areas of New Orleans, but hadn't lived there since Katrina. Her record mentioned something about interest in the arts, had some previous years of college but never finished. Nothing extraordinary or particularly attention-grabbing, and from the look of it, not really a troublemaker either. So what do the two have in common? Are there some details in the third folder? The one designated Roman numeral 6? Am I absolutely sure I want to open this? There was one file in the folder, an ordinary PDF document. Sure enough, it was an incident report dated from 2003. Apparently, these two were caught together in a rather, shall I just say, embarrassing manner. According to the report, no one is sure how long they were seeing each other, but officers and enlisted aren't supposed to be that involved with each other according to the rules. Sure, this kind of thing happens sometimes, but was this really worth throwing into a pile of trash to be burned? The file said that they were both in the process of being officially legally processed. They were both detained and being held at Joint Base Balad. Wait, what? The file also said that before official proceedings could begin, they both escaped and committed suicide somewhere in an isolated area of JBB, near the burn pit. The report was signed by Laveau's commanding officer, a man named Major Summerfield. Okay, this is what the fuss was about? A couple of lonely grown adults that were caught fucking and killed themselves? The report didn't explain any details about their alleged escape, nor the method used in their mutual self-termination. I can't imagine that two people who had just been hauled off to jail would have access to their firearms so easily. I'm pretty sure they didn't shoot themselves. Something's not right about this. Any of it. As soon as I closed the report, another document emerged. I guess you have to read the first one before the others become active, but that seems really silly. There was no visible icon, just the usual highlighted blue field and the text bearing only its name, vaevictis.avi. The second I saw its title, every nerve, every muscle and instinct in my body was begging me, almost pleading with me, not to open the file. The floor felt like it fell out from under me, and I could have fallen into the depths of the earth itself, and yet here it was, plain as day, right in front of my face. I became so tense that I was struggling to swallow, and nothing had even happened yet. I swear I could almost hear my brain yelling at me, "Don't do it! Don't you dare fucking do it!" Something else, though, despite my own best efforts to fight the urge, was compelling me. I held my breath for a second, closed my eyes, and tried to gather myself. Surely, this is no more dangerous than anything else I've done out here so far, yes? As long as I'm in my room, by myself, not roaming around in the middle of the night making trouble, what's the worst that could possibly happen? I've gone through too much just to give up now. Click. There's no sound. Just a series of papers falling down flat in front of the camera, like someone is dropping them within the frame on purpose. Maybe someone wants me to read them. They look real enough. A slight sound of ruffled stacks of paper seemed authentic. The first paper that I could make out clearly read autopsy report at the top. It bore an army insignia stamp at the top right-hand side. The smaller text was indecipherable, but the camera crept a bit closer. The next paper, presumably the next page, showed a few marginal comments and notes written on it. I couldn't make out all of it, but some sections of the report were underlined with a thick pen and a small note next to it on the side, all ending in a giant question mark. The next page, the same thing. More notations, more question marks. The next page, one big note that scrawled at the bottom of it, "Suicide?" Question mark. The next page had a small photo clip to it. The resolution on my screen wasn't so good, but I instantly recognized what it was. 2 dead soldiers. A man and a woman. Both wearing, now outdated, discontinued desert camo uniforms. More papers, more somewhat pixelated images of the scene, the camera creeping ever slowly closer, more notes scrawled onto the pages. One saying, "This can't be correct." More questions in the margins, this time with a red pen. The next page, a photo of the dead man. There's so much blood soaked through his shirt collar, I almost couldn't make out his rank. It was the warrant officer. This must be Giles. A note at the bottom. So, he bashed his own skull in? The next picture. The woman. She's lying on her stomach with her head rolled to one side. Her hair is tied back, but very messed up, like someone tried to pull it out. Her natural red hair is so matted from dried blood and sand from the ground, it almost looked like one solid thing on her head. I can't see her face clearly, but there's a huge dried up stain from her blood soaking into the ground. Another note at the bottom. Blunt trauma to the head from behind. No weapon found. The next photo. The expression on Giles' face when they found him. Once blue eyes, now clouded up to a pale gray. Porcelain white skin spotted with his own dried up blood. The inside of his mouth was starting to turn blue, highlighting where a few of his teeth had been knocked out. The next photo, Laveau is rolled onto her back, exposing the garish abrasion wound on her face. Something hit her so hard, it tore a massive section of skin right off and exposed the pulpy flesh of her entire cheek. I won't be eating any meat for a while, not after seeing that. Next photo, Giles' body is covered in boot prints. They vary in size. Next photo, Laveau's wrist was twisted so hard that it broke, flopped on its side like a dead fish. There's no way in hell they did this to themselves. The photos were coming slightly faster, and then faster. There were no more notes on them, just pictures of their battered, violated bodies. Photo after photo. Details of horrific injuries and close-ups of seemingly random features. Next photo. Giles' clouded eyes framed by the darkening skin of his eyelids. Next photo, Laveau's mouth is propped open slightly to emphasize the extent of the wound on her face. Next photo, dried blood. Next photo, Laveau's eyes. Next photo, Giles' hand reaching for Laveau. Next photo, enough! Please! The second I went to close my laptop, the next sequence of the video began. A conversation between 6 men, more soldiers, all wearing the same old desert camo. They were gathered around one standing at the center. A middle-aged black man wearing an officer's rank patch. From his age and the coloration of the insignia, I'm guessing that he's a major. Is this Major Summerfield? The other 5 stood quietly while only one other spoke to him. The conversation was garbled and distorted. I could make out just a few words being said by the soldiers. Intermittent mention of betrayal, humiliating, and one that made my stomach tighten, but all too familiar with, slut. But what sickened me even more was the expression on the major's face when that word came out of somebody's mouth. A cocked eyebrow, and then a nod. The only words out of the major's mouth that I could make out were, "I never liked doing paperwork on people." He sighed, glancing down at the floor. "Let's try something a bit more effective." I think I just realized something. I think I know what, more appropriately, who killed the 2. What am I still doing with this flash drive? I should bring it to the MPs! Wait, and tell them how I came about finding it? But I can't just do nothing at all! And so I went to pull the drive from my laptop when my computer's volume skyrocketed with the anguished and panicked screaming. My screen went berserk, flashing choppy footage of a man being forcibly restrained, getting kicked and stomped on. A woman also forcibly restrained by 2 other men, being repeatedly punched in the face and abdomen. I hit every key I could think of and nothing would happen. Their screams were so loud that my laptop actually started to vibrate on my desk. Each wet, smacking sound actually made it move a little. Holy shit, just stop. No more. Jesus, this is fucking awful. I couldn't power it down. I couldn't make it stop. It just wouldn't stop. It didn't want to. They didn't want to. They wanted me to see this. Out of sheer panic, I started smashing my own laptop with the stock of my M16. A few sparks and shards of plastic, but no more screams. No more fucked up photos of corpses. No more backroom deals of vigilante violence. No more. I have to say something to someone. If I don't, I'm probably going to lose my mind. Turns out, I didn't have to, though. The new guy, the quiet guy, had come to see me, and I must not have heard him come in. He startled me a bit. I was about to explain the situation when I noticed the tears in his eyes. "I knew she didn't kill herself," he wept. Is this shit ever going to stop?